Good afternoon to everyone here in Jamaica and around the Caribbean, North America, and I think South America. Good morning to Africa and Asia and Australia, New Zealand, and good evening to everyone in Europe. I hope I got my geography right. Um, I did well in geography in school. I didn't do it at the CSEC level, but I was all right. But anyways, hello to everyone listening and watching Sports Talk here on Love 101. It is September 3, 2022, the first show of September, and I am so glad that you could join me. It's truly a privilege to be hosting Sports Talk with you. You know, I've done a lot of shows over the last 2 weeks that isn't Sports Talk, and I love all of them. But funny story, let me just turn down this so you hear me properly, right? So yesterday when I was hosting a live from 1 to 5, there was a period where I legitimately didn't remember that I hosted Sports Talk. I'm being very serious, not joking with you. I'm I was told honesty is the best policy. So it was when we were playing like one of the voice notes, right? And somebody said, we're talking about something and they were answering and something. And they said, and Daniel, I love hearing you on Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Keep up the good work on Sports Talk. And I was just like, oh gosh, I just remembered I do have to host Sports Talk on Saturday, but I am grateful for every single opportunity and I love hosting Sports Talk because, as you know, sports is my passion, love music. And so it's been such a great few weeks. So, anyways, remember there are several ways that you can listen to the show and recommend it to your friends, family, random person walking by on the street. Remember 101.1 to 101.9 on your radio, depending on where you are in Jamaica. You can download the Love 101 FM app in the Google Play or Apple Store on your smart device. You can go on love101.org and listen live there, or open YouTube and Facebook. Go to Love 101 FM's pages and you will see me in my red shirt. So, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everybody watching and listening. So today we'll be focusing on football because the English Premier League, uh, August was crazy. It was one of the most exciting Augusts in such a long time. The transfer window, I think clubs are no longer feeling the effect of the pandemic because they spent, all the Premier League clubs combined spent 1.9 billion pounds. 1.9 billion pounds on transfer fees. And then if you take into account wages, agent fees and all those things, you probably would say that it could be well over 3-4 billion pounds. Man, I wish I was born in the UK and I had a little football talent because I would be so rich. So after the 1:15 break, we'll be joined by two great local experts, Brian Peter and Aidan Alexander, to talk about that. Remember, you can be involved in the show at 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Tell me what you think about the English Premier League so far. If you even watch the Premier League, if you think it can be more exciting, your favorite teams, favorite players, whatever it is, you can leave it in the WhatsApp and I will read it live on air. Or if you're on YouTube and Facebook, you can leave your comments there. All right, so I will go into my Daniel log very soon, maybe another few minutes or so. But we start with the mini sports report, which I love to call Sports Bits. All right. So usually I love to start local, but this is major news. And let's start with this. The greatest of all time, Serena Williams, ended her illustrious career on Friday after losing in the third round of the US Open. She went down 7-5, 6-7, 6-1 to Australia's Alia Tomljanovic on a thrilling and emotional night in New York. It ends a 27-year professional career for the American superstar that brought 23 Grand Slam singles titles, 14 Grand Slam doubles titles, and 2 mixed Grand Slam doubles titles. The 41-year-old says she plans to focus on her family going forward. Tennis just won't be the same with Serena. By the way, Venus is still playing. Like, Venus don't announce her retirement, so Venus is still going to play. And remember, Venus is the older sister, and Serena is 41 or going to be 41 soon. Yeah, Venus have a lot of stamina. Anyway, so the Reggae Girls earlier this morning went down 1-0 to host South Korea in their international friendly. The girls, who named a strong team led by captain and star striker Khadija Bonnie Shaw, were unable to break down the 18th ranked Koreans. They will continue their preparations for next year's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand when they play South Korea again, but behind closed doors on Tuesday. On Friday, Shericka Jackson got the better of Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce in the women's 100 meters at the Brussels Diamond League on Friday, as I mentioned. 200-meter world champion Jackson clocked a meet record 10.73, just edging reigning 100-meter world champion Fraser-Pryce 10.74. In the women's 100-meter hurdles, world champ silver medalist Brittany Anderson was fourth, and Olympic bronze medalist Megan Tapper was fifth, with Olympic champion Jasmine Camacho Quinn taking the event in 12.27 seconds. And Candice McLeod and Stephanie Ann McPherson were fifth and eighth, respectively, in the women's 400 meters. The final Diamond League event takes place next Friday in Zurich, Switzerland, with a lot of cash on the line and the potential wild cards for some events. And finally, in their quest for a second win in the 2022 Caribbean Premier League T20 season, the Jamaica Tallowers at sports time were 79 for 4 after 15 overs, chasing 143 set by the Guyana Amazon Warriors. Later this afternoon, the defending champion St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots will battle the Trinbago Knight Riders. And last Sunday, the Patriots, led by Jamaican Chris Gale, won the inaugural T10 tournament, dubbed the 60, after beating the Knight Riders. So that was the sports bits for today. It is now time for the Daniel Log.
Hi, this is David Blake.
This is Hope Blake.
I am Ariel Brown Blake.
I'm here to tell you right now.
It's time for the Daniel Log.
The Daniel Log.
The Daniel Log.
I love it.
Presented by no one.
All right, so you probably saw the major news, one of the major news in sports this week. The government announced that approximately 11.6 billion Jamaican dollars is to be spent on the redevelopment of the National Stadium. Let me repeat. $11.6 billion is to be spent on the redevelopment of the National Stadium in Kingston. Now, reading the comments on social media and hearing some of the public comments, 11.6 billion is a lot of money, and people are saying, oh, but our hospitals are still in terrible shape, or education system is dreadful, because school start back Monday. The JTA president, who I heard on Engage on Friday afternoon on Love yesterday, basically sounding very pessimistic, with hundreds of teachers resigning. Some school don't even get them furniture yet for the new year. The preparations have not been ideal. So the health sector, the education sector, or roads and all of those things are in terrible shape. But we're going to find $11.6 billion to spend on the redevelopment of the stadium. No, I don't want to make it seem like I am going to defend the government spending 11.6 billion to fix the national stadium when we have so many issues, because I've been to all of the hospitals in the corporate area, and there is, there needs to be major work. The education system, which I was a part of for a very long time, trust me, from now till my time, and probably even my father's time, it was, why I just said my father and my mother's time, it's still not in the best shape. It's far from where it needs to be. But what I will say is that there is a reason why we have a Ministry of Sports. There's a reason why we have a Ministry of Health. There's a reason why we have a Ministry of Education. We need to focus on all those areas, and the respective ministers need to pump the money where it needs to go. So criticizing Babsy Grange for wanting to upgrade the stadium, which is one of her jobs, I don't see the criticism there. I think the criticism needs to go to the other ministers and, permanent secretaries, whoever, as to why money isn't being put into those sectors. And also, if sports was not a multi-billion-dollar industry, I would have cussed like everybody else. No lie, seriously. Because if sports was literally a play thing and nobody was making money from it, I would not tell you. I would be under those comments to cussing. But from the very first day that I've been here on Sports Talk, when you hear me talk about the benefits of sports, when you hear me bring on guests time and time again to talk about the impact that sports can have on the economy. Even Chris Daring, one of Jamaica's most successful businessmen, who was on, I believe, in August, essentially saying we need to invest in sports more. So, yes, the hospitals need to be upgraded. Yes, our school system needs a major boost. Agriculture, infrastructure, everything, yes. But that does not mean we should make sports suffer because of it, So we just hope that everybody is able to get a piece of the pie so that Jamaica can be a well-run country in every facet. Easier said than done, right? But we continue to, as a popular dancehall artist said, hope and pray. That is the Daniel log for today. We go into a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the English Premier League with two great analysts. So stay with us.
Register today for the Dynamic Leadership Conference at the Jamaica Theological Seminary, September 5 through to 8, 2022. Join leadership coach and conference speaker Mr. Courtney Campbell, Dr. Margaret Bonnet, Reverend Clinton Chisholm, Dr. Michael Friday, and Dr. Patricia Holness to explore strategies on effective leadership. For registration costs or additional information, email Dawn Petgrave at jts.edu.jm or call 876-619-1244, extension 302. Mark your calendars and register today.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Get ready to move through uplifting music inside Alive 1 to 5. This Make Me Move Monday, September 5. 2 o'clock will be our Prayer Blast feature. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside Body Talk. OBGYN Dr. Leo Walker will join us to look at things you should always discuss with your gynecologist. Then at 3:15, we bring you What Does the Bible Say? Exploring Speaking in Tongues Part 2. All this and more will come your way in Alive 1 to 5 p.m. on the family station Love 101.
Here's an invitation for churches and community organizations. If you're hosting an event which offers free admission, tell us about it and we'll get the word out in Love FM's bulletin board. Simply email your information to bulletinboard@love101.org. Love FM's bulletin board for church and community events with free admission and certain fundraising events. Conditions apply. Listen to Bulletin Board on Love 101 Saturdays at 4:55 p.m. Love FM's Bulletin Board is on your family station, Love 101.
The Carmen L. Stewart Foundation, CLS, continues the memory, the legacy, and the love of the late Bishop Carmen Stewart by sharing a health fair on Saturday, September 3, the anniversary of her birthday. Come on out from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Wynwood Road Primary and Junior High, 141 Wynwood Road, and get your free health checks from doctors on location with recommendations for the right medicine. And see partners such as NHF, who will be offering free checks for blood pressure, blood sugar and diabetes, BMI, cholesterol, and hemoglobin. And Utech Dental, offering cleaning for children 16 years and under. And yes, there will be attractions for the children and free gifts too. Come out early and grab your tickets for the free services before the tickets finish. It's in honor and for the memory of Bishop Carmen Stewart. The health fair is this Saturday, September 3. See you there.
He knows my name.
It's 20 minutes past 1 p.m. here inside Sports Talk on Love 101. Thank you so much for joining me and for staying with me if you are just tuned in. So, English Premier League, let me tell you, I'm not going to hype it up. Not because I'm an Arsenal fan and sitting top of the table while other teams have to be depending on VAR to get points and those things. Forget about that. The Premier League so far has been one of the most exciting that I've seen in quite a while. And again, it could be my bias talking because I'm not bottom of the table like last year on the verge of tears or anything. This time, I'm on the verge of happy tears. So first of all, let me update you on some of the games that happened today in the Premier League. Everton and Liverpool in what was the most exciting Merseyside derby ever, 0-0. Whatever. Tottenham beating Fulham 2-1. Bournemouth, after getting slapped 9-0 or it was 9-1. I not even remember. Just so much goals that are going before I'll forget. They beat Nottingham Forest 3-2 after being down 2-0. Chelsea coming from behind to beat West Ham 2-1. Brentford outscoring Leeds 5-2. Wolves, they beat Southampton 1-0. Crystal Palace and Newcastle ended goalless, and at sports time, Aston Villa and Manchester City were 1-1. So interesting. Hold it, Aston Villa, hold it. Some major transfers happening. As I mentioned, the Premier League alone spent $1.9 billion on transfers. So anyways, enough for me. Let's get to our guests. First, let me add Brian Peter, football analyst, reporter there at Sportsmax. I think you would have wear the Sportsmax shirt still because it both is still in it. But Brian, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me here.
All right, and then we are going to add Aiden Alexander in very shortly. But Brian, firstly, just your overall view of the quality of the league so far, because I think last season a lot of people were saying it was pretty average and it seemed like City and Liverpool were running away with it compared to last season. And now, what do you think of the quality so far?
Before I answer that question, big up Leon Bailey. Him scored a goal for Aston Villa.
Yes,
so I have to big him up. Yeah, you know. But as it relates to what you said, the quality of the league is, I think there's one major difference. Last year was between Liverpool and Manchester City. This year, it doesn't really seem to be any competition for Manchester City. I don't know whether that boasts. I don't. So I view it as a negative and a positive thing. So the positive is we have an influx of quality players that are coming into the league. It seems as if this is the league now that everyone wants to go to. Barcelona and Real Madrid used to have a chokehold over players' ambitions because players would aspire to play for those two teams and aspire to play in La Liga. Now it seems that the Premier League is the number one destination. So the quality of players within the league has definitely improved. But Manchester City's recruitment and spending in the transfer market has been insane. And once again, I personally gave them, they had the best transfer window because they didn't really need to do much to their squad. They just needed to add the right pieces, and they added the right pieces, and they look like they're going to run away with it again this year.
Man, I fight out Arsenal already, Jano. All right, let's join.
No chance.
Let's join. Well, Aiden Alexander joins us right now. Aiden, thank you for joining us as well. The same question in terms of the quality that you have seen so far, even though it's just a subset, compared to what we saw at the same time last season.
The quality, I would say, the front men, even if they've been new or they've just been continuing from last season, the front men this year have been really potent in the Premier League. Harry Kane, he's notorious for not scoring in August. He's been on fire, on fire so far recently. Erling Haaland, we all know, 6 in 10. He's absolutely flying. Arsenal, their transfer business has been great for their squad. Gabriel Jesus coming in from Manchester City, he's been a knight in shining armor for them, and they're so perfect in the league. So I still think the quality has, I think it has taken a step up from last year, but I'm still concerned about maybe a gap between clubs at the top and clubs towards the bottom of the table.
All right, so let's talk about the club at the top, Brian. Arsenal 5 from 5. Very surprising to me, despite, as Aiden mentioned, the additions of the likes of Gabriel Jesus and Alexander Zinchenko. But to me, it seems like this is the most confident Arsenal team that I've ever seen. What should I say? What do you think has been like the major difference that they have been able to take this leap, even though it is just 5 games? But what has been that major difference?
Well, So apologies for letting my bias rule me in the beginning by not acknowledging that Arsenal are indeed
You're
5
good,
out of
man.
5.
You're good. You're good.
But yes, it has been an impressive start, one of their best in recent times. But I'm just being cautious and I'm not getting ahead of myself because I would caution Arsenal fans not to get ahead of
Oh,
themselves
yes.
because the results have been impressive, but the opposition hasn't always been the hardest. Also, we've seen on many occasions that where Arsenal would start off well and toward the middle of the season they have some inconsistent runs. So let's see what happens. But this year the quality seems to be very consistent so far. I think Mikel Arteta finally has his personal stamp on the team. He's gotten rid of players that he felt weren't living up to the responsibility of wearing an Arsenal shirt, and he's gotten players that he is better able to motivate to work for the team. And I think Gabriel Jesus is a perfect acquisition. He fits right in. They needed that target man that consistently scores goals. Many persons were wondering if Jesus could live up to that because he's never been in that position before. Coming into the league, he had to fight for his place every week against Sergio Aguero. And then when Sergio Aguero left, he was being benched, and then he was playing on the right wing. So when there are many concerns around him, he's slotted in well. Saliba has been exceptional. The Arsenal fans begged Mikel Arteta to bring him back. He's back, and credit to Mikel Arteta for handling that situation. I think he knew that giving him some experience overseas would have molded him into the player that he is today. And that partnership with Gabriel it seems rock solid. So they're the right pieces here. They're playing well. They're consistent. Martin Odegaard is amongst the goals now. Never saw that a lot last season. He's the captain, so he has to be bringing on a lot more responsibility. So Martinelli has stepped up as well. So the right pieces and the right players are stepping up right now.
Yeah, Aiden. As he mentioned, Arsenal fans usually get ahead of themselves, but 5 from 5. Should we take them as a serious title contender, or do you think that it's just going to, as usual, just take a massive nosedive?
Well, it's really hard to argue for a massive nosedive when they've been as perfect as they are. I think that in terms of optimism, I think Arsenal fans, optimism is warranted. Last season they started completely opposite to this. Yeah, lost the first 3 games on the bounce. Now you're perfect 5 from 5, the only team in the league to do so. I think that the squad you have is really good. An issue might be depth. We all know, Ben White having to play at right back. He's not a natural right back, but he can play in the position. Maybe an injury or two, God forbid. And I would never wish injury on a player. So midfielders like Partey, we know how important Partey is to Arsenal's midfield. That may cause some bumps in the road should those things happen. I really hope they don't. But I think Arsenal's biggest issue would just have to be depth. But if that squad can stay healthy, I think they can have a real run at it this year.
Don't give me hope. I've had too much of that. All right, so it is 1:30. We have so much more to talk about, guys. So stay with us. We are going into our break. Aiden and Brian will still be with me to talk Premier League. Remember, you can get involved as well on WhatsApp 876-997-3125. So we go to our break and we'll be right back.
Need to pass your CSEC CAPE exams to get that dream job or to qualify for university? Then Distinction College is the school for you. We have locations in Kingston, Spanish Town, St. Elizabeth, and Ocho Rios. Start day, evening, and Saturday classes this coming term and sit CSEC CAPE exams for January's resit or May, June. Maths, law, science, English. We have the lowest school fees. Register before the end of the month and win an entire term free. Call us at 354-8560.
Summer's almost over and it's back to school time again. Don't let slow internet hold you back this year. Switch to Digicel Plus fiber internet for super fast speeds from 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more browsing, more learning, more video calling, and more fun. Get 15% off monthly until December 31, 2022. Sign up at digiceljamaica.com. Dial 876-619-3444 or 145 from your Digicel mobile. Digicel Plus, better together.
It's not over.
Listen to words of upliftment in Something More with Bishop Harold Blair, brought to you by the Faith Cathedral Deliverance Center.
And he cried out to God. Have you been there? Have you been there when it seems as if you've been left all alone and no one cares for you? No one gives to your word of comfort or consolation. But as you lift up your eyes to the hills from whence cometh your help, the Lord heard your cry.
That's Something More with Bishop Harold Blair. Something More comes to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9:30 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
It's not over till it's over.
Get ready to move through uplifting music inside Alive 1 to 5. This Make Me Move Monday, September 5. 2 o'clock will be our Prayer Blast feature. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside Body Talk. OBGYN Dr. Leo Walker will join us to look at things you should always discuss with your gynecologist. Then at 3:15, we bring you What Does the Bible Say? Exploring Speaking in Tongues Part 2. All this and more will come your way in Alive 1 to 5 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Here's an invitation for churches and community organizations. If you're hosting an event which offers free admission, tell us about it and we'll get the word out in Love FM's bulletin board. Simply email your information to bulletinboard@love101.org. Love FM's bulletin board for church and community events with free admission and certain fundraising events. Conditions apply. Listen to Bulletin Board on Love 101 Saturdays at 4:55 p.m. Love FM's bulletin board is on your family station, Love 101.
101.1, 101.3, 101.5, 101.7, 101.9. Love is all you need.
Approaching 1:35 here on Love 101. We are still on Sports Talk. It's Saturday, September 3, and we have been talking about the English Premier League so far, and we'll get into some of those major transfers. And by the way, Manchester City and Aston Villa ended 1-1, which means that City, they don't go top of the table. They remain second on 14 points. Well, they jumped to 14 points ahead of Tottenham, who had played earlier today. So Arsenal are still top and will remain top no matter what happens tomorrow against Manchester United. Praise God. So City are second, Tottenham third with 14, Brighton and Chelsea fourth and fifth with 10 points. Then 3 teams on 9, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Brentford. Then Manchester United in 8th, and hoping that they drop down further. No, them can't drop down further, but them can stay with them there. After that Man United Arsenal game. And the bottom three, Leicester, uh, one of the only teams not to win, just the second team not to win a game so far. Just 1 point, West Ham and Nottingham Forest in that relegation spot, but a whole lot of teams on 4 points, so things can change pretty quickly. And Everton, as I mentioned, who drew the Merseyside derby earlier today, yet to win a game, but 4 draws out of their 6 games, so 4 points for them in 16th position. So we are still here with Aiden Alexander and Brian Pitter. So let me add both of them again. So before the break, we spoke about Arsenal and their potential. Manchester City, I guess, haven't been super convincing, but sometimes they aren't, and they still get the job done. Um, are they still the favorites, especially after what they've done this summer and generally how they play? Starting with you, Brian.
Yeah, I think, you know, based on an eye test, you look at the quality of the squads in the Premier League. Manchester City definitely has the best squad. It's the one with the most depth. Their closest challengers last season, Liverpool, are struggling right now because half of their midfielders are out due to injury. They had to, in my opinion, do a panic buy on the last day of the transfer window, or a panic loan in the form of Arthur from Juventus. So, up front, they're lacking in goals as well. At the back, they're leaking goals. And everyone else in the top six, apart from Arsenal, it looked very, unimpressive. So, but when I take into account, as I said earlier, Arsenal's history in recent times with challenging for the Premier League title, they haven't necessarily put on a consistent run of form for me to say, okay, maybe they can challenge Manchester City this season. So when you take all of those into context, Manchester City seems to be the only ones capable of winning the league.
Yeah. Aiden, any doubts for you that City are firm favorites?
I still think on paper Manchester City are definitely the favorites. When you have a striker scoring as many as Erling Haaland, as often as Erling Haaland, a squad as deep as theirs, players as good as theirs, also being defending champions, I still think they are definitely the favorites on paper. Maybe there's 1 or 2 games this year, obviously the 2 draws they've had so far, where you might say there's been a sense of weakness almost. But I still think over the course of a 38-game season, I still think they should get the job done.
Yeah. In regards to what we thought were their closest challengers in terms of um, Liverpool, they've spent a lot of money this summer. They got Darwin Nunes, Fabio Carvalho in January. Remember getting Luis Diaz, and we figured that they would have been off to a flying start because their schedule hasn't been as difficult as I guess compared to other teams, but things haven't been going that well. What's happening with Liverpool, Brian? Because we thought that they were going to be neck and neck, and it would be City and Liverpool again, Pep and Klopp. What's going on?
Listen, I'm just as puzzled as everyone else, but I think it's, when we look at the situation, it could be one of two things. They don't really like to invest in the transfer market unless they feel like they have the right player. And Klopp said that before he brought in Arthur, and I feel like they haven't continued to replenish the squad. I remember a statistic sometime. I think one of the losses that they experienced recently, they played against Manchester United. I think a similar squad when Klopp first entered the Premier League, most of the players in the midfield were still there. Um, so they haven't really replenished the squad enough. They haven't really spent a lot, kept up. You look at Manchester City, every time they have a bad year, they came second one year, they went out, they bought Kyle Walker, they bought basically 3 wing backs and a defender. Something is not going right. He buys Diaz, he bought Laporte. if Pep is not satisfied with their performance, he goes out and he fixes the problem immediately back in the transfer market. So I think that's one of the major issues. And also, the teams in the Premier League are starting to figure out Jurgen Klopp's tactics, and they're putting measures in place to prevent players like Mohamed Salah from being that potent, from pressing Liverpool hard, playing them at their own game. So I think those two in connection are part of the reasons.
Yeah. Sorry to everybody who has Salah in their fantasy team, because
Right.
no points
Like
for me.
myself.
I can see why I stopped playing fantasy. Not gonna lie. But
Yeah.
Aidan, they did lose Sadio Mane, and that has been something that a lot of pundits and fans have been talking about, that they sorely miss Mane. Is it much more than that, or is it as simple to say that Mane would have been the difference in a lot of the games that they aren't winning right now?
As I definitely think when you lose a player that was as crucial to them as Sadio Mane was, it does take a bit of time to adjust. Sadio Mane was their number one player in that position when he was there. You've lost him now. You got a player that's not exactly the same profile in Luis Diaz taking over his position. They're learning to play with a out and out number 9 now, Darwin Nunes. We know he's been suspended for the last few games. Also, like Brian made mention too, the midfield has been ravaged by injuries. So I think all those things, along with maybe playing that high line when they should sometimes, it leaves a lot of space at the back for players that quick on the break like Zaha to run into. They might get a goal here and there conceded. Those turn draws into losses and losses into draws. But I think that when they get that squad, all back together, Nunes off from suspension, the injuries start to come back. We might, start to see the Liverpool we're used to in recent years. But I do definitely think that Sadio Mane departure, like you made mention to, is definitely a big factor in their performances so far.
Yeah. Kirk on the WhatsApp line saying Mane leaving Liverpool is a big factor, as he was the one to stabilize the team when they had a rocky start each season. Stabilize is a very strong word, but
Yeah.
I definitely get what he's saying though. And to replace Mane is difficult, but I think that's why they probably invested in Luis Diaz. They got Carvalho from Fulham. They kept Harvey Elliott, probably playing him in the wrong position, but that's we just want Liverpool to stay where they're at right now. In regards to
Yeah.
replenishing, Chelsea has done a lot of that this summer. The 1.9 billion, Chelsea has spent 1.8 of that. No, just joking. But they have
No.
but they have brought in a lot of players this summer, and I think rightly so. But is it a bit of a risk for Thomas Tuchel? Because we know when owners invest their money into players, into thinking that, okay, there's going to be a tighter challenge. Is Tuchel under more pressure now than ever before? Especially because last season, I guess people could say the issue with the ownership and the contract situations were a distraction. But now that all this money has been spent, does that put more pressure on Tuchel and even more pressure on the players to perform?
Yeah. Ultimately, if you spend over 300 million in one transfer window, you better win the league, or you better come top four. Especially if you bring in players like Koulibaly and Aubameyang. The Chelsea team, or the critics of the Chelsea team, have been saying that they need a striker. They got their striker. He's one of the most potent strikers in the Premier League in recent years. In the 6 months that he was at Barcelona, he probably 100%, but 90% saved them and helped them to finish second. So they've recruited good players, and Tuchel will be expected to do much better than they did last season. But so far, they've been inconsistent. They got a win today. Very, very, I wouldn't say lucky, but very fortunate. They got a win today. And they don't seem to be as organized as they were under Tuchel when he first came here. And I believe that they'll struggle a lot this season if Tuchel doesn't do something about the system and about the formation that he's playing. But until then, yes, he's under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, Aiden. After he came in and won the Champions League, I think people automatically felt that this new system would have led to him challenging Klopp and Pep. He brought in Lukaku last year. Things haven't worked out, but now he's brought in, as Brian mentioned, the likes of Koulibaly, Aubameyang. They had gotten Raheem Sterling, Kukurea from Brighton. Uh, Look, I too much ball of them sign. But do you think that those additions will prove decisive in them finally challenging, or with the way that they're playing now, are you pessimistic about their chances?
I don't think they'll challenge this year. They've spent a lot of money in the window, and on paper they probably should, but based off of what we've seen so far, I don't think they'll challenge this year. I don't think their squad is better than Manchester City's. They're not playing as well as Arsenal. Right now, I think it's definitely a battle for top four for them. I would say that Tottenham has a better squad than they do as well in terms of cohesive and ability to play together. And from the performances we've seen so far, I do think Tottenham has a better squad than them at the moment. But with the names that they have on paper, if Chelsea can get it together, they have a title challenging team, definitely so. Like Brian mentioned, to signing Koulibaly, signing a proven Premier League goal scorer like Raheem Sterling, proven Premier League goal scorer like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. One of the brightest young left backs in the world that a lot of clubs wanted in Marco Correa, Barcelona talent right there. That's definitely a team that could challenge for the title if they get it right. But I think that Thomas Tuchel and Kai Havertz are in a bit of a similar situation, whereas in their performance when they came into the team, namely winning the Champions League, Tuchel coming in and winning the Champions League with Chelsea, and Kai Havertz scoring a goal in the Champions League final. Maybe their performances of late in their respective roles haven't been up to standard, and they're under a certain pressure now to perform. So I definitely think that this Chelsea team should be doing a lot better than they are.
Yeah. It is 1:48. We're still here with Brian Pitt and Aiden Alexander talking about the Premier League. And imagine we are 12 minutes away from the show ending and we've not mentioned Manchester United, which kind of shows how bad things are there. But they have sort of picked it up after their abysmal first few games, winning their last few, especially after dropping Harry Maguire. They play Arsenal tomorrow. They've invested quite a bit, bringing in Anthony and Casemiro. I don't want to say title challengers necessarily, Brian, but do you think that top four is realistic, especially after what we saw last season with them? Do you think that Ten Hag with these new additions can break into the top four?
I was mentioning, after transfer deadline day to a friend that I personally believe that Manchester United have the second or third best squad in the league, and it's crazy if you look at the Anthony transfer. I think is going to be really good for them. They've brought in Casemiro, who is not only 5-time Champions League winner, but the chemistry that he can bring with Cristiano Ronaldo, the Varane, and the experience that he can bring in that midfield to allow Bruno, who we've seen, start off the season better than we've seen him in the past, season and a half. They have the right players in each position that I think they will be able to challenge for top four this season. Dropping Maguire was a bold move from Ten Hag. but it's worked. 2 clean sheets in the last 2 games. Maybe a clean sheet against Arsenal. Who knows? We don't know. But they've done really, really well in the transfer market, in my opinion, and I think they should be surprised. They should be surprising a lot of people.
Yeah. Before we go to Aidan, Trishana says, this is so funny. People are hypocrites. When Sadia out of form, them cuss and say front three old. Now he's gone, saying the impact he would have had in games he played. Shake my head. That's unfortunate. But anyways, back to Manchester United there, Aidan. As Brian mentioned, he thinks that they have the second or third best squad in the league. Do you think that will reflect on the pitch? Because last season when they signed Varane, Sancho, and Ronaldo, we thought, okay, title contenders. But does Ten Hag make that much? Does he make more of a difference compared to a less tactical manager in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
Definitely, because we've seen the tactical difference in their last couple games. We know when they got blown away at Brentford, that was because they were trying to implement that Ten Hag style when they weren't quite comfortable with it yet. They got punished for trying to play out to the back, quite a few times. Got hit on the counter a bit too. But in that Leicester game we saw, just a couple of days ago, we saw the beautiful passage of play that we know Eric Ten Hag is capable of and wants his teams to implement. They do look a lot better. Dropping, like Brian had made mention, to dropping Harry Maguire is a very bold move from Ten Hag. He's a £80 million signing. Dropping Cristiano Ronaldo as well is very, very bold from him. We know Cristiano Ronaldo's caliber. We know what he is as a player. And we know that if United lose and he's on the bench, the question becomes, why wasn't he playing? If United wins and he's on the pitch, the question is, why doesn't he play more often? But Ten Hag is definitely, he's very clear about what he wants to implement in his team. And I think that in terms of their squad, the squad is very good. The squad has always been very good. It just hasn't been performing. We know what Bruno is capable of. There were Bruno and Kevin De Bruyne comparisons just a couple of years ago. I personally believe that Kevin De Bruyne is the better player. But we know that Bruno is capable of amazing things as a footballer. So the squad is definitely there. I think once they can implement Ten Hag style perfectly, and he gets all his his signings playing how he wants them to, I think they spent a lot of money this year as well. 100 million euros on Anthony potentially. It's a lot of money, especially when you have Cristiano Ronaldo sitting on the bench. Casemiro, he came for a lot of money. He's also on a lot of money wage-wise as well. So, we'll see how that turns out. But based on how we've been seeing Chelsea performing, how we've been seeing Liverpool performing, I think that top four is definitely within their reach if they keep up, their current form.
Yeah, Aidan, staying with you because you said something that was very surprising to me, saying that Tottenham has a better squad than Chelsea. Antonio Conte is a proven winner. Last season, he literally took them from way where they were to the Champions League with additions that he's made this summer. Now that last season was top four, do you think that they could be like a dark horse in the title race?
Who, Tottenham?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think that Tottenham, I don't think they win it, but they definitely get Champions League football. Before the start of the season, I thought they might come third. That was my personal prediction for them. I thought Antonio Conte had a really good squad together. And we saw that, it only took him a few months to implement his style and get them Champions League football last year. So I did think that they had basically a book spot, in my personal opinion, in the top four this year.
Yeah, Brian, Tottenham, just top four or potential title challengers?
Listen, I rate Antonio Conte. I appreciate what he did for Chelsea, but I wouldn't necessarily put them in the top four. They're not in my top four. Before the season, I had the obvious two, Liverpool, Manchester City. I had Chelsea, of course, finishing top four. And I believe Arsenal will get top four as well. So I think those Arsenal and Manchester United for top four. Tottenham, as with Arsenal in previous seasons, have shown me that they're not consistent enough. They're known to be bottlers. We know this from Pochettino days. And they haven't convinced me that they can put a 38 game run of consistent performances to get back into the top four, especially when you think about the quality of the other squads. If Chelsea start clicking and click like I hope they will, and that I know they can, then it's going to be trouble. Arsenal is already on massive form. Can't count out Liverpool. City is City. So Manchester United, as I said, I believe if their squad and the players rally together, they can be an upset as well. So it's very difficult for me to see Tottenham going into that top four.
All right, less than 4 minutes to go. Tell me both, starting with you, Brian, the best transfer you've seen this summer, and I wouldn't say worst transfer, but a transfer that made you scratch your head.
I can start with either one first.
Yeah, man.
All right, so the transfer that made me scratch my head. Well, two maybe. I would say Aubameyang to Chelsea scratched my head. Like when I saw that, I was a bit taken aback. I'm not complaining. He's a proven goal scorer, but I'm a bit skeptical, as I've been saying to some persons out here. Tuchel plays a system. Tuchel is very stubborn. He loves his system, and we know if Lukaku couldn't survive in Tuchel's system, Lukaku coming off a record-breaking season for Inter Milan where he won the Scudetto with a partnership with Martinez. If he could not survive in that system, I struggle to see Aubameyang, who hasn't necessarily been in the best of forms over the past 18 months, perform well. And also Lucas Paqueta to West Ham. That came out of left. I'd put Arthur and Liverpool up there as well, but I don't want to add too much. The transfer of the season, of course, has to be Haaland to City. Not only is Haaland a proven goal scorer, but they got him for pennies compared to his quality.
Yep. True.
It was cheap. It's one of the best investments in football that we'll see in a long time. Ever since Haaland made a quote when he just went to Dortmund, he says he wants to have more goals than appearances. I knew he was that kind of striker, so that's the best transfer for me.
Yeah, Aidan, quickly, your top transfer and the transfer that probably made you scratch your head.
Top transfer, definitely Erling Haaland. I think that's undebatable. 10-6, like I said earlier. Pennies on the dollar compared to what he was, really and truly worth. It has to be transferred this season so far. And then transfer that made me scratch my head. I would say not in terms of quality, but in terms of price tag. Anthony to United, I just think 100 million euros potentially is a lot of money. I don't doubt his quality, but I just think that the amount of money was a lot. So yeah, that was my one that made me scratch my head.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. As always, we'll see how the Premier League goes around mid-season or so forth, and we'll certainly love to have you guys back. So thank you so much for your insight, as always.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so that was Brian Pitter and Aidan Alexander talking everything about the English Premier League and the major transfers of the summer. Show done. Sometimes I think that the time that I know that I have is actually shorter than I think, if that makes sense. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to Sports Talk for yet another week. Please join me again next week, Saturday, 1 to 2 p.m., where we'll have more sports discussions that you love. And thank you for everyone who came on the WhatsApp line, commented. We appreciate you. Please stay tuned here on Love 101. The Gospel Train continues, and then at 3, Youth Connection. So until then, please take care and enjoy your weekend.